Alright all, and welcome back to another video in the Day 5 preview of the Galway Festival alongside a few selections from Day 4 of glorious Goodwood. Going to be running through these pretty quickly after yesterday, which was a bit of a debacle to be honest. It was a poor day. After the selections, hold my hands up, wasn't great. It just hasn't been going really my way, especially at Goodwood this week. I think on soft ground it does put some of these sort of performances, and these results up into question, and I feel that those, even though horses have won that have been fancied, I've just been on the wrong end of a lot of defeats at Goodwood, and at Galway it's been temperamental as well, and I can't really get these Willie Mullins horses right. I'm putting the ones I put up don't win, the ones I don't put up do win, so it's just been one of those. It was an absolute sickener the other day. Yesterday, should I say, on Gin on Lime, for instance, who I think deserved to win. She's deserved to win. She's ended up getting mugged by Fan de Bleu with 100 yards to go. So a little bit frustrating, but these things happen. We've got to keep moving on and keep trying to back winners. So we're going to get into Galway and get into Goodwood as well. Starting off with Goodwood again, 3 selections again. Starting off with the 150, the big 2.5 mile handicap. Horse I love is running in this, the Grand Visir at 8 to 1. I think he's as solid an each way bet as you're almost going to get all day. Always seems to run his race. Is he vulnerable from a win perspective? Yes, of course he is. He doesn't win that many times, but he runs his heart out a lot of the time. He was 3rd in the Queen Alexandra before 2nd in a listed race at Sandown, so he comes here in good form. He's 4th in this race last year. Soft ground, no issue to him whatsoever. And to be honest, I'd be very disappointed if he wasn't to fill out the frame. A lot of bookies are going 6 places, and the Grand Visir should be coming in those 6 places. And an 8 to 1, I'm going to take him each way. The 335. The King George, it's the 5 furlong dash, and it's a little bit like what we've seen sometimes earlier in the week with the likes of Poetic Flair and who's gotten beat. And Stradivarius, I thought, obviously he ended up being a non-runner, where you've got the class horse in the race drifting out because of the ground. And maybe it's one of those things that the ground will play its part, but I just can't be turning away Battash at 15 to 8. I think it's just too big a price, to be honest. Yeah, fair enough, there's good horses in there. Dragon Symbol's a very good horse, Art Power's a good horse, and they do like soft ground. But even then, Battash absolutely stuffed Art Power in the Nunthorpe last year at York, even though he wasn't on his A game whatsoever, on somewhat soft ground as well. So I don't see the angle behind Art Power beating him, personally speaking. Dragon Symbols are a completely different type of beast, but Battash, I believe, is still the best horse in the race. He loves Goodwood. It is it's an easy 5. He's been so good on there in the past, and I'm really hoping he can just get past that ground aspect. And I think if he does so, 15 to 8 is a very good price, obviously. The 445 is a nursery handicap. I'm going to take a chance here on Tropez Power for Richard Hannon, who's been in sparkling form. He's been having winners at Goodwood, he's been having winners away from Goodwood, and this horse looks a typical improver. Got awarded a maiden last time out at Newbury. Side Bin Sarur horse actually was first past the post, but it bumped him near the end. He looks like a progressive type, and his pedigree would suggest that he's still got more wins in the tank, and at 8 to 1 I'm going to risk that in the King Power Silks. Moving on to Galway, mix and match here. A few near the top of the betting, a few at bigger prices. Starting off with a couple at the top of the betting, the 4 o'clock. Can't look past Purple Mountain in this for Mullins and Mullins at 7 to 4. Very good bumper performer, Mare's listed winner. Then returned at the Dublin Race Festival in the Grade 2 bumper behind Grangy, and just never seemed to pick up the bridle that day for Tom Hamilton. Was well down the pecking order, but this is a soft enough maiden hurdle, because she's been owned by the Mee family. You'd have to assume that they've been keeping this in mind. Now, I thought that with Dad's Lad yesterday, who ran a stinking race, so it's hard to know, but she looks the class horse in this race. Patrick Mullins takes the ride. 7 to 4, I think, is not a bad price, and hopefully she goes and collects. The 430, a competitive handicap hurdle, but there's one that's at the top of the betting, and at the top of the betting for a reason. I actually put him up last time out on which bookie when he did win his maiden hurdle, and it's Hallowed Star. Now, he wouldn't want too much rain coming his way, and just at the moment, I'm sitting here in Dublin, and it is 10 past 9, and it is absolutely tipping down, so I don't know what it's like over in Galway. Wouldn't want too much rain, but if it's the same old ground that we've had the last couple of days, Hallowed Star should take a heap of beating in this, and at 15 to 8, I know he's short, but for a handicap of that nature, but I do believe he'll win. The 5 o'clock, another competitive handicap. Going to take one at a price here. He's a Hardy Bloke at 16 to 1. Blew off the cobwebs at a flat run a couple of weeks ago. He was okay that day, not too bad. He previously won a couple over hurdles in the winter and then finished mid-div in the big Carl hurdle at the Dublin Racing Festival. There was no disgrace in that, and this is a much softer race as a result. As I say, he's 16 to 1 for Noel Meade and Sean Flanagan. You can get 5 places out there in the majority of bookmakers, and I think that's not a bad each-way price. You'd have to think that flat run was to get him tuned up for a race such as this, or maybe something later in the line. And unlike, I suppose, Hallowed Star, a little bit of rain wouldn't go amiss for He's a Hardy Bloke. 5:30 is a big staying handicap hurdle. I'm going to give you 2 for this. My main one being Decor Irlandais for Noel Kelly and Noel McParlin. Again, another horse that blew off the cobwebs with a flat maiden run at Leopardstown a couple of weeks ago. Previous to that, he'd finished 4th in the big Grade 1 3-miler behind Time Hill at Aintree. So that looks top of the bus form. He is off a near on top weight here, but I think he should go very close at 8 to 1. And the other one is an improving horse of Peter Fahey's, Visionarian, at 10 to 1. Obviously, there are a couple of doubts about whether he's going to stay the trip or not, but did it nicely over 2 mile 4 the last day, and there's enough in the pedigree to suggest that this should be well within realms. He seems to be a nice horse, jumps pretty well. Peter Fahey's had a few decent runners so far this week, so hopefully Visionarian can go quite well at 10 to 1, so you got 2 at decent prices there. 6:05 is a beginner's chase, and I'm going to take a wild stab here on Gloire D'Athon for Henry de Bromhead and Darragh O'Keefe. He jumped questionably when he won his maiden hurdle under Paul Townend a few weeks ago, and he'll be either one of these horses that I reckon will fall, or he'll jump fences incredibly well. It's just one of those ones. I think he'll either really, really take to it or really won't take to it. I'm going to take that chance of 5 to 1 each way that he might just take to it, and if he does, I think he's a bit of a lurker in this market. The 6:40, the rated chase, I'm going to take a chance on Annamix in this. I think he's the best price at 7 to 1. It was a no-show in the plate a couple of days ago, but was out of contention very early. Didn't have a hard race whatsoever. He's the type of horse to pop up in a race like this. Now, plenty of them are. Darasso, Kashari, they're the types of horses that win these sort of races. But I'd be a little bit more concerned that Darasso and Kashari have had more hard races throughout the week, and maybe that won't show, maybe that will, but Annamix didn't have any sort of race in the plate. He's not a bad horse on his day, and he has won races like this in the past, so at 7 to 1 I'm going to take that. The 7 to 10 is the Galway Blazers. 2 for you in this. Dunvegan, who's a perennial cliff horse of mine, but surely has to have his day in the sun at some stage. Ran a decent race in the Topham Chase, a couple of good races in handicaps this year. His jumping is usually either very good or a little bit sketchy. Hopefully he'll be good under Brian Cooper for Pat Fahey. He's 13 to 2. I think that's not a bad each way price. And the one I'm going to take a chance on, because I thought he was a long-term prospect for the plate itself, is Aramax at 22 to 1. I know he's a horse a couple of you guys like, and he's a horse that I've backed a couple of times over the winter with varying degrees of success. But he is a very good horse, I believe, and I still believe he's well handicapped. I can't not think that there's some handicap out there for him. Maybe it won't be today, but it will be at some stage, so keep him in the tracker. And the final race, the 7:45, a mare's bumper. I'm going to keep things short and sweet here with Ashroe Diamond. She's 10 to 11. Whether you want to be getting stuck in at that sort of price, I'll leave that up to you, but she's my selection. I don't think it's an overly strong bumper, and the vibes are that this mare is pretty good. She beat Bantown Girl by 14 lengths down in Wexford, who's gone on to win since, so you'd have to think that that's not bad form in the book, and she should take a whole heap of beating. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below. Of course, apologies for yesterday's selections. Hopefully today's will be that little bit better and we can get a bit more success. And of course, let me know your selections for both Galway and Goodwood today. And of course, until tomorrow morning, where I'll be discussing day 6 and day 5 respectively, stay safe, stay well, land a few bets, and I'll see you guys then.